Welcome into Side Sessions. Man, I've missed this. We had this going in spring training, and now all of a sudden you are a busy man right now, but you're here and ready to go.
No, these were some of my funnest moments in spring training was our times together. So we had a little hiatus, but we're back at it now.
Did you really have fun with us?
You must have had a brutal spring training.
I was going to say.
I did. No. I looked forward to that every week.
We wanted to chat with you. We don't want to do any small stuff. We want to do big picture stuff. We have a couple of road trips we're looking forward to. Your LA one. I can't wait to get into that with you. But I guess we'll start as a whole. We're 16, 17 games into the season. Give us just sort of the overview from the mountaintop from Clayton McCullough right now.
I think what's really been encouraging and stood out is just how resilient our entire group has been. I think we've seen it in games that we've played a number of close games, and how we've been able to either we get behind to chip away and take some leads, win some close games, and I think even some games where it hasn't looked so great, been a little more bleak there, but how the guys have continued to fight and battle all the way through, and in a couple opportunities where we've actually forced other teams to get maybe some more high leverage arms up in a game that they probably didn't want to. So that's a good sign. It's something we continue to stress with them. So that's been very encouraging. I think on the pitching side, we've gotten for the most part quality outings from our starters, and our bullpen has done a nice job in finishing off games where we've had some leads. So all in all, it will continue to really impress upon them. The margin for error is small to win a major league game each night, and it comes down to the ability to throw strikes, limit free passes, playing high quality defense, and us to continue to just play what we feel is our brand and style. So play hard, try to put pressure on people, and stack at bats.
And Clayton, it's really cool to watch you guys offensively. You don't go away, and we've talked about the percentage of runs scored with 2 outs, and you even mentioned getting bullpen arms up. Like we saw Edwin Diaz get hot when they went into a 9th inning with a 10-run lead or a 9-run lead, whatever it was. But I mean, these guys obviously they've got something to prove. You've got the youngest roster in Major League Baseball. You got a lot of guys really trying to prove themselves at the major league level. But are you a little shocked at just how resilient they are when it comes to in game?
I don't think I'm shocked about their. I think felt like we had a lot of high character, men in our locker room, and that they were, as you said, in some ways trying to prove and establish themselves as major league players. And I think the youth plays well into that and forming an identity. It's like, hey, if we wanted to have some type of an identity, it's not on the offensive end. It's that we aren't, we're not going to give it bats away, and it doesn't mean that you won't chase sometimes, and you won't make some early outs, but it's at least have a plan when you go up to the plate, and trust that over time, if you stick to that plan, and you're only evaluating yourself, and we're evaluating you on your ability to execute on said plan, I believe that leads to consistent runs of success, and for us to be able to do that 1 through 9 in a game. And you never give up. I mean, you put all this work in the day to get yourself ready to go up there and take at bats, and you just, this league, you can't give them away. And so that's something that we'll continue to stress. And, we believe that we had guys that like to play. They enjoy being around each other. We felt from day one that, we're just going to go out there and try to prove people wrong and not listen to the noise, and just go play. And whatever happens today is done. We'll learn from it, take parts of it that we felt we did well, parts of it that we can clean up, and we just go into the next day with a blank slate looking to come out and win.
We never have enough time with these interviews, because when he's talking, then I have 4 other questions.
Yeah,
so I'm going to keep going here. The offensive identity, Jack just hit on. Going into spring training, I know you guys had an idea of it. Is this what it looked like when you guys formulated and met together?
I think it was at least we were going to prioritize and stress the value of controlling the strike zone, and limiting. You're trying to eliminate some of the chase. And again, it's never been harder to hit than it is now at the major league level, with the quality of stuff, the amount of velocity that you see each night. Meeting our guys, the pitch creation, augmentation of arsenals. So it's a difficult task, and it's hard to just say I'm going to go up there and swing at a strike. It's I think we have to be a little bit better than that, and have a plan individually how you want to attack a particular, in this case, starting pitchers, and then as a group, okay, what are we going to do to try to just build innings, pass the baton? It doesn't always work out where you get the knot with people on, but you just feel like if we can, try to take care of the things that we control, which is being on time and what we're swinging at, then at least it's going to provide us, we feel like, opportunities to mount innings, stress starters, try to get into bullpens, which is a good recipe that good offensive clubs do.
It's cool to watch some of those guys execute that plan. And, I've had a couple conversations with Kyle Stowers. Like, that was a guy that had a blue zone. It was four-seam fastballs at the top of the zone last year. He struggled with that. That guy's walk-off hit came on 96 elevated on opening day, and he is killing fastballs right now at 96. Sometimes, of course, he's going to swing and miss at those, but he's making that blue zone a little bit less blue, and he's making that cold zone a little hotter. Not to ask you for one in particular, but are there a couple guys that jump out that you feel like have adopted the identity and kind of grown a bit more than, the initial forecast may have been?
I think, we talk about Kyle for a minute, and you say, there's not going to be many secrets anymore about, if you struggle with a particular pitch or a particular part of the strike zone, people are going to go try to expose that. So, okay, what are the adjustments going to be? Is it, limiting in this case if it's a four-seam up, which is not a great pitch for a lot of people to hit, but okay, you either got to lay off of it more or at least be able to defend yourself enough to hang into an at-bat now where you're just banking on they can't execute it over and over and over. And now they get one that's a little bit, it's a little bit lower, it's a little bit more in your zone, and you're ready to fire on that. So I think, we've seen that. It's our hitting guys bring it up. It's it's no secret. So let's discuss it. What are we going to do to try to rectify that and give you a better fighting chance? So providing that information to them of the reality of where things are, and then let's write a prescription. I think we've seen Griffin Conine, another way. Are there some areas where you can go, get him? Yes, but he's ready to hit, and he's firing on a lot of pitches that he can handle, and then it just comes down to, you want to move those forward.
Yeah.
I think, we saw it early in the year with Mervis. There was some good pitches to hit, and he just was fouling them off, whether that's a timing thing or just in between speeds. And, the at-bat should have ended, on that pitch. And you foul it off, and now, you set them up for the ability to maybe move it around some. But then, you get some of those balls, and you're on time, and your swing's working through the middle of the field, giving yourself more of a chance with your bat path. And we saw, I think, Merv is and has, had a really good stretch here. And it will be it. Now, when you start going well, it's not to get, out of, what's allowed you to have success, right? Or you have a bad at bat or a couple, a bad, stretch of at bats to then, you just always got to get back to what is going to allow me to have success. So it's going to be, an up and down affair, right?
Sure.
I mean, it is because
that's baseball.
That's right, and there's adjusting. Our guys are having to adjust to the league, and then in turn, when you start to have some success, the league is going to turn right back around and adjust to you. So it's a constant, as cliche as it really is a constant game of adjustments, but knowing what you're good at, all right, and you're just trying to suck people into those areas to give you the best chance to, come out with a good outcome.
I want to take a trip inside your mind for a second because you're a couple weeks into your first year managing, and there are a ton of challenges that come with that. I want to know what keeps you up at night. Is it the lineup? Is it taking someone out? Is it I want to strictly talk about the game. I know it's tough to DFA guys and everything. That's always hard. But what is the thing that keeps you up at night?
Sometimes it's a decision maybe that you don't make. That's as much there's a few decisions in every game that you make, right? I mean, probably number one each day, the hardest thing is, all right, with the starter and now what's going to be the point in the game that we feel like, it's time to pivot or, to the bullpen. And so those are, I think, every day, probably the most front of mind type decisions. And then, game ends, whether you win or lose, and it's golly, should I have left him a little bit longer? Should I pulled the plug a little bit earlier?
Do you have any from this year that's coming to mind that you're
I think it's more
you've been pretty good. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I think sometimes because you don't ever want to put someone in a spot where they have to wear it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there is a team component to this where we're playing 162 games and a certain stretch of the year.
You got to play for tomorrow sometimes.
That's right. So you don't want to put guys in situations where it's maybe not optimal for them, and unfortunately sometimes you can't always have a great matchup. So I think those are the decisions that loom the largest each day, and probably are the most conversations about how to plan for. And then you think about, okay, you pinch hit here in the middle innings. What in turn is that going to do? Potentially later on, knowing what they have at the back end. So I think it's trying to weigh at that particular time. When do you want to take those shots?
Sure.
Knowing that whether it works out or not, you're going to be in a spot later on that might not be advantageous. And, they're not always going to work out. I think we've seen some of the, infield positioning, playing in and being aggressive there. But I think those are things that we're going to continue to, feel like need to do, and like it will pay off.
Balance
and
out. Yep.
Yep.
you know, you get caught up, and when it doesn't work, you know, it's, you know, certainly it's hard to, you know, or what could have, should have done. But, you know, at the end of the day, like, it's too hard. It's easy to second guess and feel like, is our process strong? The thought process going into decision, you know, was it sound? I think more evaluating that than, you know, it totally being on what the outcome was.
It seems like you guys create a really good think tank in the dugout, and I'm sure that this job is maybe a little bit more layered than you were expecting, right? And there are layers and levels to each of these decisions that you're talking about, but we see Aaron Lenhart sitting next to you pretty much every single night. We know Carson Vitale's in there as well. What kind of camaraderie have you built with the rest of the coaching staff to kind of take some of those layers off of your plate when it comes to these decisions?
I think I just have a tremendous amount of trust in what in their opinions. It goes the same for Daniel and Alone, you know, on the pitching side, and, you know, what we think going into a game, you know, as you try to lay out some sort of a plan, knowing that, you know, each game is kind of its own, and then within that game, you know, how are we going to, you know, pivot maneuver based on game state and, you know, where we're at, and then, you know, the offensive side, same thing, like, you know, Pedro and Show with, you know, some of the hitting decisions along with Cars. So I'm lucky to have a staff that is very open-minded, and they enjoy and love talking about these things, and I don't think any of us take it personal. You know, with one way it goes or another, and we just look at it as, you know what, it's just an opportunity for us. Like, let's make the best decision we can tonight in this moment, and we can rehash it later on, knowing that these things are going to come up over and over again throughout the course of the season.
I know we got a couple more minutes left, and I don't want to mess with Adam. We don't want to get him upset.
We don't want to make Adam mad.
Clayton, can you give us a timeline on Yuri and Ryan Weathers?
Actually, Yuri threw 3. He had 3 up, 45 pitch, live BP today. Looked great. Next up for him will be 4 up, live batting practice, like 60 pitches. And you know, once he gets through that 460, we'll look to, you know, next steps being getting out in some type of a, you know, a rehab assignment to get back into competition. But he's trending very well, looks strong, checking all the boxes he needs to. And then with Weathers, he got off the mound the other day, threw all of his pitches. Next one for him will be getting off a couple ups and a bullpen type, you know, build up a little bit of endurance there, and then once he gets through that, we'll just kind of reevaluate how he's bouncing back and feeling and look for next steps. But the arrow's pointing up with both of them right now, and we'll just let their bodies let us know, how we continue to push that forward.
Clayton, last one from me. Obviously, the vibe in the clubhouse has been immaculate, but it seems like the vibe in the ballpark has been great, too. And the fans are really embracing this year's Miami Marlins team. What has that reception meant to you, the coaching staff, and the team as a whole? Because you really are, you know, kind of the focal point of the team. You are the one that can pretty much say, hey, thank you, fans, for coming out. This has been great.
It has been. It's been, the energy in the ballpark has been great. I hope people, I hope our fans appreciate the way at which our guys go out and play. I mean, you watch Griffin Conine play, and I think, you know, if you brought your kid to the ballpark, you're like, man, I love the way, you know, this guy plays. And then you turn around and go, man, I love the way Otto Lopez plays, and, you know, Sunoha. So whoever it is, I think, you know,
They're not getting shortchanged for defensive plays in the
That's right.
outfield.
Defensive plays, the effort is something that we can control on a daily basis. So hopefully, you know, people appreciate. We certainly appreciate the type of support, energy we're getting, and I love our group there. Just ability to like come in today and focus on that, and whatever happens, you know what, we just have to turn the page into the next day. And sometimes the baseball calendar can be long, but it also can help you in that regard. Like there's only so much time you have to stew over, you know, the day before, because the next one is coming.
Yeah.
The place can get loud, I'll tell you that. My last one for you, I know you're going to get so many questions on this. In a couple of weeks, we are going to go to LA. You're going to receive your ring. Are you going to cry?
I don't know if I'll cry, maybe. And to say I haven't thought about it some now as it's gotten closer would be a lie. You know, it's coming, and it'll be an exciting time. Myself and my family to, you know, we spent a lot of, you know, 10 years as a professional in that organization, 4 years, you know, calling Dodger Stadium home. So it will be, it'll be cool personally to go back and see a lot of people that have helped shape me and helped been a big influence on where I'm at now, and, you know, to be part of a World Series champion, that's the, you know, the ultimate goal, and you know, to go back and, you know, get the ring and have a little bit of moment there, a little closure, you know, on that end, you know, will be nice, and so looking forward to it, and, you know, it'd be cool to, you know, again, somewhat close that part of my you know, life, and now it's, you know, on forward.
We're so excited for that moment for you, and thank you again. I know you're pretty busy. Oh, wait, hold on. Last one for you. I just want to know the turnaround with the manager. Like, the game's done at 10 o'clock. Like, how quickly are you moving on to the next game? This can be a 30-second answer.
I think we always sit in there and debrief a little bit about that game.
Okay.
And it'll be some staff, some front office, and we just, talk through a few things, and then that's kind of over, and, maybe a little discussion on, some of this like status of guys for the next day,
Sure.
what the lineup may look like, and then, go home. Most of that rest of that night is thinking about that game, and then as soon as you wake up the next day, it's what kind of on to the next. So I don't know if that will always be how it is, but like at least right now, it's kind of post game and that evening, it's a lot of reflection on that night, a little bit of thought into the next day, just based on where we're at, mostly from like a health standpoint, and then it's on to the next.
That's what we do too.
Beauty of baseball, it's a built-in calendar for yourself. It's nice.
We make sure he's got the cough drops. We make sure we debrief, and then we're on to the next. Thank you so
We're good.
much.
All right.
Side sessions, Clayton McCullough, Steven